let's check out the parts for both Jerry and Bob and China Cat Sunflower. And let's just get right into it and listen to the intro slash verse section, and then we'll break down what's going on. So first of all, this tune is in G mixolydian, just like so many dead tunes that mixolydian sound. So that means it's revolving around G, but there's that F sound that's in there, and that's that characteristic note that makes it mixolydian. But I'm not going to focus too much on any theory or any, or too much improv stuff here. I really want to just get down to some specific kind of parts. And if you want to know more about some Jerry soloing stuff, I've got a signature licks video. I'll put a link in the description down below where you can look at some specific licks he was playing from that Euro 72 version, which we're going to kind of look at the approach from that. I love that version so much. So let's look at Jerry's part down here. He's focused on this mixolydian little riff. He's going. So, and my tab, just like most of my tabs, or all of them pretty much, they're not supposed to be an exact little thing. With the Dead especially, it was never, exact, just always just a little bit different, a little loose. And except my signature look stuff, I like to keep that kind of verbatim to show you really getting the details of what they're doing for one specific moment. But he's playing, G to G. Sometimes he's throwing in these muted strums, and I didn't put any of these in there, so. Especially right here, between those Fs, right? There might be some, might not, but it's all about the timing and the rhythm, and not just that, but the way it's played. So it's not, but really short notes there, and then longer there, short, and that gives it that funky edge. So really pay attention to how you're playing it to get that kind of funky sound. And then with Bob, that was all what Jerry does there, the intro and right through the verse. Bob, comes in a little later. Sometimes just playing up here around a G and more improvising around. Sometimes playing like this spot right here, sliding to that. And then doing this little thing here, it's kind of cool. Just these two strings, 12th fret, and then 10 and 12. That kind of emphasizes that one note there from the F. Because it's a little bit like they're playing G for a while, and then that F real quick, but nobody's like playing it really in your face. It's this typical kind of Dead stuff. It's just loosely hitting it there, so it gives you that overall mixolydian sound. Because anytime you're doing the mixolydian stuff, playing that major chord, you just go down 2 frets, play a major chord, and that will emphasize that that sound. So then when he gets into his part, he's up here going. And then he does it again, but the second time he goes down. So what he's doing there, it sounds kind of like the lead part. A lot of people probably think this is Jerry doing it, but this is a Bob thing. He's hitting these 2 notes, emphasizing that part of the G chord, and then pulling off here, then hammering up, and then same thing again, but then he's going. That's just playing an F chord, an F triad, just these top 3 notes. So emphasizing that mixolydian sound. Up 2 more strings to get the G, and then continue up the scale and stopping on the 3rd of G of B. And then the second time, going back down, resolving it to the G, and it just goes back and forth. So that's all that's going on during the intro slash verse section. Then it goes into the solo section, what I call solo A. And then it goes back to a verse, then it goes into a solo A, and what I call a solo B section. And let's listen to that, just because it'll save some time to listen to those 2 different solo sections back to back, and then we'll check out what's going on. just jamming out over that G chord. So for Jerry, you know, really that's really the only distinct part he's playing. So for this, I'll just loosely show you he's focused on G Mixolydian. And again, if you want to know some specific licks and where I break down a little more of the theory and that stuff, to check out the other video, the signature licks. But you got the G Mixolydian, then we're going down to a D, or you can think of it as a D7, and he's doing D Mixolydian. So this is a good one to be practicing moving around your Mixolydian. Then it does a bar of 2, do that D7, and then real quick C, D, which you don't need to change it up to do C Mixolydian or anything. You just play C, D if you want to keep it real simple, just hitting those roots. And then it moves on to E, and it's hitting sometimes a D, so it's focused on that E Mixolydian. So now, of course, he's moving it there, right? And then hangs on that for a while. Then it goes to B, and then you can do the same thing. It's like a B7, so it's a B Mixolydian. So it's a Mixolydian like festival. We got 4 different ones in a row here, and a quick A to D to bring it back to, you know, that kind of stuff. So for Bob, though, there's no distinct part, and I'm not going to go off on, you know, approaches and improv things he's doing, but I'll just show you a little bit. We can keep it simple, just hanging around this G like he does at the beginning, right? The same idea. And it's a little bit like this. I always think of a Hendrix thingy. Even though when he does this, it doesn't sound like Hendrix, but it's the first time I learned this approach, and you know, it was Hendrix stuff, and you know, it's just he did it so well and really popularized it. So many people were just kind of copying it ever since, of taking a chord like this shape, and then thinking of it as like you get your major pentatonic, so G major pentatonic, and just playing little pieces of it, and then sometimes throwing in the 4th, in this case C, or down there, you know, it's really Hendrixy, that kind of stuff. So if you toy around with all that, you get this D up here too. There you go, it gives you a little bit of a Bob sound. Then you just do the same thing for the D. Just move it down here. So now you get this chord right here. There's your D. All the same stuff. You don't have to rethink it too much. Just think of these shapes and the sounds, you know? And then one quick thing, when he goes to the C, you can do the same thing. You know, C, D, you know, and it's kind of hits, so there's nothing really super crazy fancy. But there's one thing he did on Europe 72 I heard that I really liked. I thought I'd tab it out because it's a big Bob thing, and it's something in my own playing I do all the time. He plays just this triad, part of a C chord, and then up to a D, but he throws this note below it up and hammers it up. And just to show you a little more closely, it's like if you were playing it, the strong fingers like that, be right in a row, but he's doing it this way. So it's like taking the, you know, part of the chord 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi, and going from the 2 to the 3. But with this below as well, so it's in the middle. So it's a nice subtle sound. So the first time I learned that was transcribing some Tony Rice, and I didn't know what that sound was. It took me a while to figure it out because I was so used to playing this way. It was like, this was so weird to me. When I finally figured it out, I was like, oh, light bulb went off. I was like, oh, that's it. And then the next big challenge was, oh, how do I really play that? Because it feels, at the time, it felt so weird to me. And if this is, you know, new to you and you try this, you might be like, I can't even do this. But just keep at it, you know. I did, I kept at it, and now it just feels just as natural as playing something like that, you know. And you can do it for the C too. It really opens things up. It's a cool, it's a really cool sound. You can add it, you can stress that more, and give it more of a spacey sound to your major chords and things like that. So, anyways, that's a cool little thing he does there. Then he goes to the E, but he does the same thing from. But now it's just 3 frets down, so he's back to that lick there. And you don't have to think about the frets, so I'll read it. If you just memorize the patterns, the fingerings and the sound, then it's just the same thing, 3 frets down, you know, the same idea. Second time there, you know. Then it does that the whole thing 4 times. Then it hangs on the E, but this time he's now opened up, so he's now. We could keep it simple. We could do the same thing here for, not here, that'd be a D, sorry, 2 frets up here. And then the same, all that stuff. And then it goes down to a B or a B7. However you want to think of it. Same stuff there, you know. Hangs on that. And then A to D, bring it back. But rarely to be playing big bar chords. You could do that. You want to do it more of a Bob way? Just play the middle 4 here. And it gives you good voice leading because you get this on the bottom. Versus instead, very smooth thing, and or that was the Jerry parts. Then it's back to that whole spot there, and that's it for the tune. Then it's just the jam at the end, which is just hanging on the G. You can do a lot of the same stuff. Then it goes to the D, kind of like stressing a D7, that whole Mixolydian sound, and then often they jam that into I Know You Rider. And, you know, I'll just say this one other cool thing from also Europe 72 and other shows, he would do this as well. There's a time where Jerry's kind of laying back and Bob's kind of, you know, coming up front, which is very cool. You know, it's not like they were always, you know, just in these roles. I kind of can't stand when people get into that kind of like hierarchy of like, you're the lead player, you're the rhythm player in bands, and it's, you know, and don't ever step on my toes. And, you know, it's like, so Jerry's laying back in the Europe one and in 72, and Bob was up here doing this thing going. I didn't tab this out, but I'll just show you real quick. He's playing a C triad, so it's like this D shape, right? And if you brought it up an octave, it'd be here, but he's playing it down 2 frets. So it's C, like I said before, you take that, whatever you're doing, do it down 2 frets, gives you that Mixolydian sound. So he's stressing that, sliding into it. And he does this quick little, it's like an E minor triad, you know, on the top 3 and into the D like this, kind of like that shape there. And he's just playing like this, sometimes hammering into it. Gives you a little, like this, soulful thing. So that kind of stuff, and sometimes he's up here. So if you listen to that, you know, it may sound like, oh, Jerry's going, but that in fact, at least again in that Europe 72, be really focusing on that. That was Bob, so you can toy around with that, and that's a great thing. You could be using that kind of stuff for if you're pulling back a little bit, rhythm, but if you wanted to just bring it up, just kind of the way you play it, you know, sometimes just the way you attack it, or, you know, your volume even can make it sound more like you're playing a melodic thing and it's a little bit more upfront lead. But again, it's not really one or the other. Jerry's doing some kind of like stuff in the background, but he's kind of dialed back. So they're both kind of, you know, interacting together. It sounds so cool. So try that stuff out yourself. And if you want to, again, check out the signature licks, I'll put it down below and I'll put it in a card over here. You can just head right to it. But have fun with that, checking out all the approaches and the parts. And I will hopefully see you in one of the next videos.